my learner growth findings. So what I learned about my student, what I used in the classroom, and kind of what was in the pre-assessment as well as the post-assessment, and how those strategies for the students' learning actually worked into the post-assessments. So to start off, assessment 1, I assessed my students' speaking as well as listening, kind of like interview skills. And I used the Cambridge A2 level, which is pretty much beginner level speaking. I used the common scale for English, the CSE 2.2, and I started off with A2 level, which again is beginner level. I used the interview and the conversation. So for the first 5 minutes, it was one-on-one. I interviewed the student, and for the last 2 minutes, the student had a conversation with another teacher. Usually it's 2 examinees, but since there wasn't an examinee, I had to use a teacher for the conversation. Here are the grading criteria for the Cambridge style speaking test, which is fluency, coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. So during the interview, I noticed my students' English speaking ability was pretty advanced, and so I switched the questions to B1 level. Now I didn't do much preparation on the B1 level, so I did my best to just make the questions a little more difficult and a little more challenging. As far as his assessment goes, here are the results. His grammar and vocabulary were 5, discourse management 5, pronunciation 5. Interactive communication was a 4 because he didn't really start any conversations with his partner. So he got a 19 out of 20, which is very high. Here the second assessment was writing, but here I used 2 assessments. I used the Cambridge A2 level, and then I used email and stories. So they had to write an email, and then they had to write a story. And the story is based on 3 different pictures. So if you look here, here's the email. He's got an email from his friend Sam, and he's coming to his house, and he has to answer these 3 questions and write an email, like 25 words or more. The second assessment was about pictures. Pretty much what it is you have to write 35 words or more and connect these 3 pictures and tell a story. So the pre-assessment, here are the results. For the content, those are 1, organization 1, and language was about 2. It was very disorganized, wasn't really good at writing at all, but I was excited to get, and he got a 3 out of 15, but it was exciting for me to be able to work with him. So here are some of the teaching strategies I decided to use throughout the Learner Growth Program. First was immersion education, critical thinking, technology, and knowing your student. So to start off with immersion education, the benefits are students receive instruction in 100% English. There is no L1 to rely on, so there's no Japanese for the student to rely on. It's 100% English. He either sinks or swims based on his English. The students can feel as if they are in another country. So in Japan, you're surrounded by Japanese people. So you don't really feel like you need to learn English. So I try to provide my student with kind of that immersion style where this isn't Japan anymore. You're in America. You either sink or swim using English. He was up to the challenge, so it wasn't really that extensive. Immersion education. Some of the problems. In short periods of immersion, some researchers say that it's not really that good if you only do it once in a while.